Hello. How are we all doing? Do let me know. I wonder if it's going to work tonight, Mike. You know, me being on my own and everything. I do wonder. So, fingers crossed. Carol's in under a pseudonym. She's trying to throw me. She's trying to throw me, but she's not throwing me. I know it's you, Carol. Oh, now, who was in first? I need to whiz over here for the chat. It was Carol, wasn't it? It was the other Carol. Hello, Carol. Carol from Ohio. Then we've got Debbie. We have Mrs. Yarnold, who has been listening to the podcast. Excellent.
When you say Yarnold, you're on your own, I'm here.
I know you're here, but you're not doing anything.
No.
It's all me tonight, you lucky people. Right, who else have we got? Debbie. Hello, Debbie. Hello, Joe. We have Deb as well. That's almost a full complement of Debs. And Annie is in the house. Hello, Annie. I trust you've dragged Peter with you. Oh, and the dogs. Hello, Paul. Good morning to you. Hello, Renee. Oh, watching on the big screen. You're not actually watching in bed, are you?
The bed screen.
Yeah, the bed screen.
The bed screen.
Yes, we do need to. I can't wait for the unboxing of that. Oh, it'll happen. It will. Hello, Kim. Hello, the other Carol. Yes, I know. I spotted your picture. I think I've got everybody. Hopefully I have. Right, it feels weird tonight, as though I've forgotten something. It'd probably be about 9:30 and then I'll remember what I've forgotten. But for the moment, it's happening. It's happening, let's say that. Right, so what have we got? It doesn't look like much, but trust me, it's taken a long time to prep. Right, we have got the week at MacBites headquarters. We have a little update to Raycast, far more interesting if you're paying for the pro version, which I'm not yet, but it'll probably happen. Then we've got default folder. Now that was a request, so we'll be covering that. I didn't realise we haven't covered that since 2018, so it's about time. Then we have Affinity Publisher 2.2 updates. This is not the entire suite. Oh no, because Photo and Designer have got little things. Publisher, some big stuff. So I'm covering for at least 4 big changes that you need to know about. And then that's it. But trust me, those 4 are worth waiting for in themselves. Right, let's get on. Oh no, hang on. We are broadcasting in HD. Make sure you're receiving in HD. It's been quite good to me this week, but there was a service, I can't remember what I was watching, but you said it, that's shocking. And it was like 360. It was really bad. I think it was a webinar. Anyway, make sure that you've got the red flash. How do you get the red flash? If there is a cog in the lower right-hand corner, handily placed near the like button. Just saying. Right, okay then. So, back to last Saturday. I had a Saturday planned. I thought it was going to be grand. But guess what? There was a match. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. You see, for this to make much sense to you, you need to know that United are supposed to be good. And Brighton are supposed to be rubbish, which makes it all the worse when it ends up that they stuff you 3-1. So it was a case of don't mention the match. Mike was so disgusted, he decided to drag Lola out for a walk as the second half started. Now, you may not recall, but we announced last week that she was rather interested in one of the local shops. And Saturday was the grand opening. She cheered him up no end as she in turn dragged him into the local shops. And she didn't stand on ceremony with it either. No, they were open. That lady, she barged straight in, did the dog. That lady is the owner. And if you'll notice, because Mike sent me this picture and I said, oh, she's got a Samoyed coat on. And that's exactly what she said. She looks like my coat. So she was definitely dressed for the occasion. At least in Lola's mind, it was in honour of Lola's visit. But she got tangled in a lead. She got that excited because we said last week, didn't we, that she'd gone bowl crazy. She just wants her food in different bowls all the time. Well, one of the few stalls they had there, as you can see, is full of dog bowls, and she gave the entire stock the once over. She got invited in again today, didn't she?
She did, yeah.
Because if they can get the pet in, they can get your wallet in. I think that's the idea. They don't realise that Lola has her own. So that at least that brought a smile to his face. after the match. So, Sunday reared round. We're well in past our 5 weeks, aren't we? Yeah, this 5-week coding project. Yeah, forget that. But I decided I was going to have to split the time, or I'd go blind. I'd go code blind. We did do other stuff too. Yes, it's never too soon to start thinking about Christmas. Actually, that's very true, because I had things advertising Christmas this week, including Spotify. So we're kicking off on the 1st of December, which just happens to be a Friday. So we're ahead of ourselves at the moment. Even the mails are sitting there ready. There's nothing in them yet, but we're working on it. It's a lot of work, and at the moment we're ahead of ourselves. So while I was busy doing that, I almost missed another 1,000 subscribers. So if you are one of the latest at 1,000, thank you very much. If you've been here since forever, thank you very much. So this was Sunday. We headed off and we recorded again. We needed to get ahead of ourselves. Trust me on that. Because Monday, despite the fact I started Monday with my Plan My Week session, the biggest news on Monday was iOS 17. So I had great plans, and if only they'd gone according to plans. I thought I'll do the M1 iPad first, only I forgot to charge the M1 iPad. So that didn't happen. So it ended up, believe it or not, the oldest iPad I own that could take it, which was the 2017 10.5. And eventually it did strut its stuff. That's the 11-inch that I did a bit later. You can see that was an hour into it all. So as I say, I had to charge them all. But, all these prompts. And I distinctly said set it up later. Not now. I don't want to do that either. And finally it let me in. You made a point, didn't you, on the show?
Did I?
Yes. What have you forgotten?
Yes, I've forgotten.
You'd forgotten it was iOS 17 day.
Yes, I did, didn't I? Yeah.
Oh, he's forgotten he forgot.
Yeah, I came and you had all your iPads and I thought, oh yes, it's iOS 17 day today.
Yes. The phone lived to fight another day though, didn't it? So once I'd done that, that meant I could finish off the recording because I'd actually installed it. And it didn't actually take that long on that 2017 iPad, which surprised me. So Tuesday rocked round. I had all the recordings, I just needed to assemble them into some sense of order. And we had a show. Virtue signalling on a slow boat from China. I do hope if you've ordered, it's not stuck on a slow boat from China. But if you've not heard it yet, and Mrs. Yarnold assures me that she has, then you need to go listen. It's a good one. And we surprised Jammy yet again. As I always put it onto Twitter, and Jammy always replies. He's planning for 200. So that got me thinking, naughty Jammy, naughty Jammy. It got me thinking, if we managed to do a show a week, when would show 200 be? Do you remember when I jokingly said to Siri, we need a 5-year diary for that? And he said, I'll buy 2. He wasn't wrong, was he? Just saying. Anyway, some point next year. I well recall when MacBites After Hours surpassed MacBites. Yeah, and that's before we even contemplate 500 marooned episodes.
Kim likes the artwork.
Oh, good. Glad you enjoyed that. It didn't end up looking like I anticipated it to look when I started it, but I was quite happy with it. This is what happens. I spend ages putting stuff in there, and then I think, right, now it needs simplifying, and then I rip it all out. Now, although, bear in mind here, MacBites Day, so it must be Tuesday. Yes, Tesco. I'd love to say that they surpassed themselves. Now, the reason it was Tuesday was you were mad busy every other day, weren't you?
I was.
So we had to buy in hand. Tuesday's clearly not a good day for a delivery. Here is what I ordered. Gluten-free noodles with chicken and mushrooms. Look delicious. This is what they sent. Curry. Guess what? It went straight back, almost as fast as it would have reappeared if I had dared to eat it. Just saying. And in light of last year's disappointment and gazing at the curry and thinking, no, I started thinking, we need to be thinking about the mince pie department, don't we? Because last year we were ordering them from about November and no gluten-free mince pies. They never actually came into stock. It's looking the same this year. They're not coming to stock yet either. But worse than that, doubtless you will recall last year's fiasco of the Great Yule Log Hunt of 2022. Well, it's now become the Great Yule Log Hunt of 2023, because last year, again, never came in. Perennially out of stock. So we will be ordering early this year. We probably still won't get one, but, worth a try. So Tesco, Asda, Sainsbury's, Morrison's, Iceland, they're doing deliveries now. Consider yourself warned. If this lady does not get a gluten-free Yule log, there's going to be trouble. Just saying. So, Wednesday rocked round.
Kim, Dino's pasta, not noodles, unless you can get Dino noodles.
Yeah, Dino is pasta, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the thing with the Dino pasta, you're quite right. Gluten-free pasta's about £4.50 a bag, isn't it?
Something like that.
So we looked, that was Morrison's. It was 65p. And I said, there's got to be a mistake. But there hadn't. That's why we ended up with Dino pasta. But maybe there is Dino noodles. Maybe this is what I need to check. But the noodles that I was after was £1.35. And the noodles in the pack, which were just noodles on their own, it didn't come with the chicken and the mushroom, they were £5.50. Shopping's a nightmare, isn't it?
It is.
I appreciate this, that you do for me. Yeah, because I couldn't be let loose with it. So Wednesday arrived and I thought, in the absence of having anything else to do, I was thinking of doing something dangerous. And I did ponder and think about it carefully. And then I thought, you know what, just dive straight in, I told myself. So I did before I changed my mind. So ensued an hour of heart attack-inducing downloads and booting and rebooting of iOS 17 on my phone. Yes, my venerable iPhone 11. I was concerned as well. It's the oldest phone that'll take it. So I thought it might never return. But it did. It finally awoke and it was renewed. And I was welcomed to the iPhone just in time for the match. Oh, yes, we'd had such fun at the weekend. United decided to try again. Now, somebody not a million miles away. Shall I give him a clue? Yeah, it was you. Was talking to your friends, weren't you, online? And somebody had gone over to Munich for the match and you said something about enjoy the 5-0 defeat. He wasn't far off. Oh, it was tantalising. It was. Because they scored in the very last minute, didn't they? Or almost the last minute. No, United got the last goal. Yeah. If they hadn't let that one in the 92nd minute, it would have been a draw. So, yes, lots of bad words were said about that one. Don't mention the match. So, it's not been the best week for poor Mike. Just don't mention the football entirely. And that would be very welcome, I think. Who are we playing tomorrow?
Burnley.
Oh, we might stand a chance against Burnley. Or do you think Burnley will beat us as well? He's grumpy, can you tell? So, Thursday. Oh, I hate September. I do. Because there's one job and it's such a simple job. It's a 2-minute job that they can drag out to the best part of 3 weeks, can't they? It was time to renew our insurance. Luckily, I'd made copious notes last year, and I'd made a note last year that, I don't know if you do ring up. Normal people don't, they do it online. But I don't want to give them my email address, and I haven't got my phone number either, so that's the usual saga. But last year, I'd actually made a note that all of the terms and conditions that they take you through, all 20-odd minutes of them, were Sean Bean. And I'm glad I made that note. It makes sense of this one. So you ring the number, and it says, what do you want? You say, renewal. And then they go on and on and on and on and on. And I thought, with it being Sean Bean, I thought there's a meme for that somewhere. So after another 30 minutes of listening to Sean Bean, I heard it all last year. There should be a bypass button on it, shouldn't there? But the bypass button was as follows. Enter the last 3 digits of your phone number, and we will compare it to the phone number we have listed for you. So I looked at Mike and he looked at me and I said, they haven't got a phone number. So what they're comparing it with. So you've got Sean saying to you, enter your phone number now. I didn't. I just ignored it. I didn't quite get that. Enter your phone number now. And Mike's just looking at me and I said, it's all right, 3-4 minutes, he'll give up. After 3 or 4 minutes, he said, okay, putting you through. There's another half hour I'll never get back. Luckily, this year we did not need to send a cheque though, did we? They did take the credit card this year. Oh, surpass themselves. So that was yesterday. It took the rest of the day for me to recover. Because I actually had to speak to them, didn't I? And then, having gone through all the rigmarole, it was Mike's credit card. So then he had to get involved. And she wanted us to pass the phone backwards and forwards. I don't think, bless her, she'd heard the concept of being on speaker. Do you?
No.
Can I speak to Mrs. Giles now? And I thought, well, not without a séance, no. I mean, she must have it on there that I'm not married. Oh, don't get me going. So, today happened. Not for us, but I'm sure plenty of you have been unboxing your new toys. I know for a fact, because Mike told me, that young Jonathan has. So I hope it was fabulous and I shall be watching your unboxing video later. If you would like to see Jonathan's unboxing video, head over to YouTube and look up his channel. I think he's Jonathan Isaacs, isn't he? I don't think he's got a fan. Well, you find it, Mike.
It's also in Slack.
Oh, well, there you go. If you're in Slack, the link's in Slack. So after everybody else's excitement, but not mine, MacBites Theory is somewhat unhappy, but never mind, he'll get over it. I did my weekly review, and that was me ready for tonight. So, Raycast. Have you got it yet?
Yeah.
Right, it's going in right now. Raycast. So this was requested. No, this one wasn't. This is an update this week. It's really a compatibility update. So as you know, I switched from Alfred to Raycast January, February this year. There are 2 main new features in the 1.59 update. One, which is going to be important for everybody else apart from me, not going anywhere near Sonoma, not until next year at the earliest, but it is Sonoma ready, apparently. So that's the first thing. That is going to be available for everybody. So free or not, that version will run on Sonoma. The other feature is Pro only, which is you can export all of your settings. And if you don't have a Pro account, that is the only way to take all of your settings from one machine to another. And now with a Pro account, you can schedule it. The thing with a Pro account is, though, you can also synchronize without doing the manual shuffle. So with a Pro account, one of the main features is that you can synchronize between machines. I keep telling myself I'm tempted and then I leave it alone. But that is available. So to make sure you've got latest backups in the Pro account, you can now do that. Right, so on to what was requested for tonight, which is default folder. So before I get going with that, we got any questions or anything?
Patience says, oh heavens, do we have a new Mac update? It's Monday, isn't it?
It's the 26th.
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday next week. I wonder why they didn't put it on a Monday. They must be gearing themselves up for trouble. I don't do that, but the reason that I don't do it, your mileage may vary, you may be absolutely fine with it. But the reason I don't do it is the things that tend not to be 100% compatible for a good few weeks are things like audio recording and video recording, screen recording, and that's what I do. I've no idea whether the live broadcast software would work. So there's too much jeopardy involved for at least 2 months. And then I talk myself out of it. And then by June, July of next year, things will start dropping off the end with the one I've got. And at that point, I then have to move. But if you don't rely on stuff like that, then you may be all right from day one. I wouldn't risk it, but that's just me. No, I can't be dealing with it. The stress of it's too much. But if you're contemplating it, do let me know. Right, so default folder. What is it and why do we care? This was one of the apps that I knew about on a Mac when I was still on Windows. Because people were talking about it and saying, oh, it's an amazing app. I wish it was available on Windows. And Hyperionics decided that they would make a sort of copy of default folder for Windows. It was that popular. So when I moved to the Mac, it was like, oh, that default folder, I'll give that a go. I will give that a go. So what is it? It is an application that you install and you don't actually interact with it directly as an app. It wraps itself in other locations and you interact with it there. But its original purpose was, as the name implies, so you could set a default folder on a per application basis. And that is something that I have done with it. So I will show you how I use it and what other features are there that I don't use. Version 5 is the latest, but version 6 is in beta. Now, if you have version 5 already, you can install version 6 and it will be licensed. I'm presuming it's going to need an upgrade price when it's finally released, but at the moment it works with the version 5 license. So let's go and have a look at that. So if I bring up default folder on the right screen, if it's all the same with you. Right, and we'll start with general when my mouse comes back. Where have you gone? Hello, mousey. No, there we are. Right. Okay, so we'll start with general. So it installs, as you can see, but it doesn't have an interface per se. It has preferences that you configure. So the first thing for me is, yes, I want it to start at login. And then you can decide whether you want to show an icon in the menu bar or not. Now, I am showing it. Doesn't look like I'm showing it because I've also got bartender working, which hides it, but it's there. Now, you can then add a menu to Finder toolbars, and you can add a draw button to Finder toolbars, which I don't find useful. So I have those turned off. But the general settings are how you access the application. But most of the time, the features like making a default folder are what they call headless or faceless anyway. There's nothing to see. You set it, and then the other apps just obey what you've set. Now, there is an option here for quick search, and this is unique to the new version. Quick search basically allows you to search for files in an Alfred-like window. So as you can see, I do have that set up. It's that one. So it brings up this search default folder, and you type in a file name, and it is supposed to use the Spotlight search to search for your file. Pro tip, how to spot is all over it. This is not great. I could not get the precise file that I was looking for as fast as I could if I opened How to Spot. But obviously it's only in beta. I'm sure it'll only get better, but that is what it's referring to. So I had to put that on a weird key that I cannot for the life of me remember, because I've got all the other keys that use the spacebar doing different things. But they are all of the ways that you can access default folder to use it. But to use it for what? Right, well, if we move on to folders, you can now see that you can have multiple folder sets, and this is the default set. Now, I only have the one, but you can create multiple folder sets. So if you have home and work, you could create two completely different sets, or even more if you want. Maybe a different set for each job that you do. In addition to the default set of folders, though, in here you've got favourites, which are what these are, and you have default folders. So the favourites are what appears in the interface of default folder when it wraps itself around an app. Now, what I mean by that is, if we just go into, let's say, Affinity Publisher, because we'll be going into that later. So we'll just open Affinity Publisher. And that looks shocking, doesn't it? Because I've had to shrink the window. Right, so if I am trying to open a file, you can see in here that it's gone to the data merge folder because that was the last folder I was working with. This window that you see here, so all of this that is wrapped around that, which is the actual dialog box, the bit between the two rectangles is default folder. Now, this one has not gone to a specific folder because I didn't have it in there. We will sort that in a moment, but we did have favourites, and that is where your favourites are added. So these 4 favourites here, I have added into default folder, and that is how I use them. So that's where they are. From in here, you can add another folder to the favourites. So we're in 05 data merge, but you can add that to favourites from in here. You don't have to go back and repeatedly go into the default folder interface. The whole thing can be managed from this window. But that's where you will see the favourites. So let's leave that alone for a moment. These were those favourites. But you can in here decide that you want to add another one. You can add another one. You can also say that you want to enable them and where. So do you want them in all apps? Do you want them in the file dialog? Do you want them in the Finder? And I've obviously got them in the file dialog and I've got them in the Finder. Do we have any questions?
We don't.
Right, okay. Now, the other thing that you can do in here, which I haven't done with these, I've set the favourite folders up and I have added them where they need to be. So they show up as favourites. But you can also set shortcut keys, which is what the enable option is talking about. So if I want this icons folder, now the reason I have a folder called icons 0560 is in Notion, icon optimized size is 280. I have mine at 144, which means I double them, hence 280 times 2 is 560. Now, I could add a shortcut to that folder, and then I would be able to bring that folder up quickly with just a shortcut, using default folder. But there is another way to do that. So if I use Raycast and I put F for folder 560, that will also take me there, and there is all the icons that I have that are in there. So I took a decision not to do that in default folder. I would do that in Raycast. And if I wanted to set a shortcut key for it, I could do that in Raycast. So the thing to remember here is it doesn't really make sense to be using two different apps to do the same thing, because you'll get confused as to what's where. Trust me on that, even I do. Do you remember when I had Alfred upside down looking for an option and it turned out to be in Keyboard Maestro? Now, the thing was, in my defence, I did have it in Alfred at one point, but sit down and we'll logically work out what goes where. And as far as I'm concerned, I do want to see the favourite folders listed, but I don't really want the shortcuts from there because it's easier to do it elsewhere. But you can do it in here if you wanted to. Now, we're still in the default set, but in the default folders, I do have a default folder set for Designer and Photo. And that means when I go into Designer, so let's go into Designer, and doubtless it too will put it on the wrong screen. Oh, we've got the app on the wrong screen, but you know, that's not bad. Right, if I go to Open, you see that did move. That did move at that point. It was somewhere else. It was in there, but it twanged back to the Affinity Designer folder. So if we look at it, it's in my Dropbox, Application Support, Affinity Designer. And that is what default folder is doing. It opens it and it very quickly says, oh, this has got a default folder, and it twangs back to it. Now, you know that did not work in Publisher, but that's because when you look at that, there isn't one set for Publisher. So let's do that. So I click on the plus, and I'm assuming at this point it wants the folder. And my folders are in Dropbox, Application Support, Affinity Publisher. Let's add that folder. Now, then you get to tell it what it is the default folder for. And at the moment, it's saying all apps. So any app that I open and then try and open a file or save a file, it's going to default to that folder, which is probably not what I want. So in here, where it says all apps, I'm going to go in and choose Affinity Publisher. So I want that folder to be the default folder for Affinity Publisher. That's all I need to do. So if I go back into Publisher, Publisher may need to restart for this. I don't know. Let's find out. No, it doesn't. So again, you saw it flash to the default, to the folder I was last in, but then it automatically twangs to my Affinity Publisher folder, which is in my Dropbox Application Support. So it's as simple as that. Now, sometimes it's very annoying when it does that, when you're working on a project and you don't want that to happen. There are ways around that. And that's all I'll say. We'll come on to that shortly. There are ways that you can work in multiple folders and still have a default folder as well. But that is what it does. That is what it's for. And originally, that was all it did. Obviously, now it does a lot more. So you can add as many of those as you want, and you can create multiple sets if you want. Right, you also in here have the option of menus. So when you've got a menu, where do you want this? Do you want the folders at the top, the coloured tags at the top? What do you want on the menus? And all of that. That will make more sense when we look at it in context. You also have the option to store recently used files, folders and Finder windows. So by default, it shows 20. Which I have sorted by date, and the recents are sorted by date. And you can include items synced from, and then these are all the places that you can do that. So obviously it supports iCloud Drive. Google Drive, OneDrive and Box Sync I do not have installed. So it would work if they were installed, but they're not. But Dropbox is. And then you can decide where you don't want files shown from. So if you're particularly working on a project that you don't want to see that again, then you can add that as an exemption to it. And you can also forget all the recently used items if you want to. I must admit, I don't think I use the recent items enough. I tend to forget it's there. Now, my biggest use of it is in the open and save dialogues, as you've seen. Now, there's multiple things that you can do here. So, first of all, you can choose a folder by clicking its Finder window. And then you can say, but only do that when. And you can see I've got mine set to holding the control key down. Now, what's that about? What does it mean? Well, if we go back into Publisher and we go into File Open, do you have a question?
Can I just say that's the only bit of default folder I use?
Oh, well, just imagine how much you're learning, Mike. Right, so it's defaulting to the default folder we've specified for it. But over here on this screen, I have my folder for tonight with all of my folders in it. So I've got that down there. If I'm in here, that window has now disappeared. It's behind Publisher. What that option that we were looking at, where it said, the control key, if I hold the control key down and I move over where that window is, even though that window is behind Publisher, without the control key, nothing. But with the control key, it tells me that that Finder window is showing after hours 0209. And when I click, it shows me that folder in here. Now, that is something I use all the time. Tell me you do use that, Mike.
That's what I said. That's the only bit I use.
Right, excellent. At least he's using a part of it. That's just if you do have a Finder window open and this is twanging back to the default all the time, that's one way that you can force it to go where you want. So I do find that one useful. That also works if you're saving a file. So if we were in there and we had a new file and we went to save it, you can see you get default folder all the way around here, but it's showing the default folder. But I can go down there and that takes me to my 0209 folder and I can put in demo and save it. And when we bring Finder to the front, there is my demo file saved in there without me having to manually navigate to that location. So that is a huge time saver. Let's get that out of the way. Okay. And we'll hide that. Right. So that's the top option that we've got there. Then it says highlight Finder windows when you mouse over it. Well, obviously you've seen that in action now. It tells you where you are. And do you want to see the names of the Finder windows when you mouse over them? And I obviously do. I find that useful. Now you can choose folders within the windows when you click on them, which I don't have enabled. And I can choose the desktop if I were to click that. Now I did used to have that enabled. And the reason that I don't have it enabled anymore is I no longer trust iCloud to synchronize my desktop, and I took a decision never to save any files on my desktop. So you never have to look at my desktop and it look like Mike's, do we? Oh, that's a dirty look. Dirty looks don't work on audio, just saying, Mike. I'll describe it for them.
Imagine it.
I'm sure they can imagine it. Right. When you're opening a folder in the Finder, do you want to switch to the Finder or not? Your alternatives are to stay in the dialog or switch to the Finder. So I have that set to switch to Finder. I don't think I changed that. I think that's just the default. Right. When you come to open a file, do you want to automatically select the last file open? Now that one is a bit esoteric, but it's useful. So in a situation where I'm going to use file number 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then once I've used 4, I'm going back to 1. I'm not going to remember what the last one was that I used, but it does it for me. So if we go into Publisher again, and we go to the file open, right, if I were to go back to that folder, so let's get back over there, and I'd open this, so let's open that, and then we'll close it, and hopefully it will take us back there if we do that. Oh, it's not doing it. Oh, yes, it is. There we go. So it knew that the last file I opened was that demo file, so it highlights it for me. So that's really useful to me when I'm using files in a rota. I maybe got 4 to 10 files, and I just use one after the other and then go back to the beginning. And that works great. Another situation with that is if I'm adding icons to Notion, I'm probably going to be working with like all the Affinity icons. And it means that in a window that's got lots of files and it's scrolling, it also not only selects it, but it scrolls to it so I can see it. So it sounds like nothing, but trust me, it's worth doing. Is that jammy I see before me?
It is jammy. Pandemonium says, to be fair, Elaine, Mike's desktop has got a lot tidier of late.
It has, but that's all the public shaming, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I did used to put stuff on my desktop because it was synchronizing with iCloud. Yeah, that didn't last for long. So I just ignore it now. Right. Now, the other option you've got is when you're saving a file, do you want to default to the current documents folder? So if you have opened this from folder A, but folder A is not your default folder for the app, when you come to save it, now I mean if you save it, it will just save. But if you did a save as, do you want it to go to folder A or do you want it to go to the default folder? Now in here, I've left it so it will go to the default folder. That might be something that I would want to change, but that's the level of control that you have in here. Right, then you've got share. No, hang on, then we've got appearance. Right, this is why mine looks the way it looks. I have a large bezel. You can choose to have a smaller toolbar. I have mine set to dark, but I think you have yours set to light, don't you?
I think so.
See, I'm odd. You'd think the number of things I set to dark that I'd use the dark theme, and I don't. I just like control. Then you can choose whether you have black and white icons or colour icons. That's what they look like if they're colour. I did like the coloured icons, but I've kind of gone back to, let's just do that. But I have noticed now this computer icon was updated. It used to be an old iMac with an Apple logo on the front. And once that had gone, they redesigned the icon. But I've just noticed if I go to colour that my computer icon is the Apple computer icon, which is my Mac Studio. So actually that's quite nice. Let's leave them at colour and have a look. Then you can choose whether you show just the icon like that or whether you want the icon on the text. I'd suggest leaving it with the text until you learn what they are. And then you can decide where they are. Do you want them top aligned on the right? Do you want them centered on the right? Now it's talking about when the file dialog is open. Do you want the icons pushed to the top of the window or in the middle of it? And I leave it centered. Right, then you decide on your file open dialog whether you want to see the previews, the info and the tags, which is at the bottom, which we will look at shortly. And then you have these options. Now this one's new. Make the file name editing field wider. I will show you what that does. It's a nice touch. I don't know why Apple don't do it. And then you can choose whether you see the comments, the tags and the actions. So all of that is to do with what it looks like when you use an open file dialog or a save file dialog. This is how it behaves. This is what it looks like. Then you have shortcuts. So there are shortcuts for everything in here. When you have a file selected, you can Option Command F to open it in the Finder. And there's shortcuts for loads and loads of other stuff. I must admit, I don't particularly use them a lot. I did used to use Command and D for the desktop when I was saving files on it. I never used the iCloud one either, but then I never use iCloud. So there's a whole range of them in here to make it easier to work with. Finally, in the options, you've got whether you want to sync the settings via iCloud. That's so not happening, but then it probably won't be happening if I put a tick in the box. I don't do that. It doesn't really make sense. I guess it would for some things, but I've always thought of default folder as being unique to a computer, so I don't bother doing that. Right, you can create aliases of recent and favourite items in the library folder. Now you might be thinking, why would you do that? Well, if there's aliases to your recent items, you are able to access them from other applications. I did used to do that. I've decided not to bother. Now, this update thing being checked hourly, I don't think it's working at the moment, because there was an update earlier today and that was still ticked and it hadn't told me. So I needed to do a check now. But that is set by default in the beta that I'm using. I wouldn't set it to automatically download and install it, probably do it in the middle of a video or a live session, knowing me. And you can exclude default folder from certain applications. So if when you're using a specific application it doesn't work right or you just don't want it, just add the application in here and that's it. So all of the settings are in there, but that's not the end of the story, because once you've set those settings up, then you get to use it. So let's go back to Publisher. So let's say I'm opening a file and you can see it's using the default in here. You have all of this interface to configure and to help you do whatever it is you need to do. So if we start on the right hand side, these are the icons, and this is where you see that from the top edge of the dialog box to the bottom edge of the dialog box, these are displaying in the middle. It is centered across the dialog box. If in here I were to, we've got to be in just the right spot. Oh, go on. There we go. If I do that, you can see it really is in the middle. It is definitely in the middle. Otherwise, these would be pushed to the top. So that was the option that we had. So let's get that down to a reasonable size. Right. Working through these, we have a utility. Now, some of the stuff in here, you probably use it like once a year. But when you go into it, it's actually quite useful with what you've got. It's showing you what the folder is. That's the active folder. You can choose to do a quick search from there. You could open this folder in the Finder. You can create a new folder in there. Now, sometimes when you're in here and you're saving a file, there is a button down here on the left that says New Folder. But we're in the File Open dialog, not the File Save dialog, and there is no option. But this would enable you to make a new folder. You can also choose to search with HowToSpot. So there's a good integration between the two. And you can copy the path to the clipboard. So if you had a folder in here and you wanted to copy that path, you could do that. Now, so this is the folder, the Affinity Publisher folder. If you have an item selected, and obviously in here we don't have an item selected. So let's go into there and let's just select an item. When you come into here, this lights up then because you've got this folder selected, this item selected. You can choose to rename it, you can duplicate it, you can copy it, move it, make an alias, get the info for it, show it in the Finder, move it to the trash, again copy the path to the clipboard, but you can even compress it or do a quick look on it. Now, these are things that you can't normally do, not all of them, in a File Open dialog. So while it says utility, some of these are incredibly useful. This option for the folder set, I said I only had one. I only had the default. If you have multiple ones, this is where you would switch between them while you're working. You are not forced to go back to the application settings and go fiddling in there. You can actually do it while you're on the fly. So think a work set and a personal set or something like that. You can do that from in there. So that is the first option, utility. The second option for computer will give you your desktop, home folder, iCloud, and all of the drives that you have installed. So you can navigate quickly through those. Then you've got your favourites. Now, these were the favourites that you configured within default folder. So if we go into here, you can see that I've got the 4 folders that I had before, and it's letting me drill down into those if I want to. I've got this one, which is the default folder for this application, so that's available. I can then, from this folder, which is my demos folder, I can add this to my favourites. I can set it as the default, or I can change the settings by going into the settings. So I've got all of those options available from the favourites. Then I've got recent folders. So these are all my recent folders. Some make more sense than others. Some of them are just hieroglyphics. If I'm using something that's a package, you tend to get folders with names that are nonsensical. You can also choose in here recent files that I've had open. And then you can view your Finder window. So I've got multiple Finder windows open, and they are in here as well. And I can choose recently closed and closed ones. So if I've been navigating through files and I can't remember where the folder was, that's a quick way to get to it. So those are the options that are available on the right hand side of that, but you also have options available at the bottom of the window. So it will give you a preview. Now the reason that is that, well, I have no idea why that isn't giving me a preview. I was going to say that's not giving me a preview because it's not downloaded, because if we look at this, these files are in Dropbox and some are downloaded and some aren't downloaded. But it's not giving me a preview anyway, so it clearly doesn't like Publisher, but you get the idea. Right, the second one is information. So it's giving you a huge range of information about that file. So it's telling me when it was last opened. Yes, that's right. I remember looking at that as I was filing this morning. There was when it was created, when it was modified. You can, from in here, give it a colour, a tag colour, if you want to. You can set it to be stationary, which we have demonstrated half a dozen times. It's where you take a file and you turn it into a read-only file that becomes a bit of a template. That's called a stationary file in macOS. You can lock the file and you can choose to hide the extension from there as well. And the path shows along the bottom here. And as you move across it, if it needs to expand it, it will. And you can use these to navigate. Now, this file doesn't have any tags, but if you want to put tags in, you can do that. You can see there's a whole range of tags in there. So tutorial, next presentation. You can add a comment to it. Now, I've never seen people do this. Do you ever do that?
No.
Seems a waste of time. But it is searchable if you put comments in there. So sometimes you might want to do that. And you can set permissions in there as well. I steer very clear of permissions just in case. Now, the most useful thing in here is if I come out of it and go back into it. So I'm going to open a file. It's going to default to my Affinity Publisher folder because that is the default folder. But tonight I'm working in After Hours 0209, which I have open in a window over here. So what I could do is hold down my control key, hover over the Finder window and click it. And it shows me everything in that folder. Now I'm going to be going in and out of there all night. And I don't want to have to do that every time because it means I've got to have the Finder window open and I have to navigate to it. But we have this here. Drag and drop files and folders here. So if I was working with this a lot, I could drag it and drop it on there. So how I would do that, I am going over here. That's not where I need to be at all. I need to go up a level. Right, so what I want to do is have the ability to quickly... You're not letting me do that from there, are you? You're a swine. Right, I will go up one level here into projects. And there is After Hours, and I will drag and drop it over there. And now I can quickly get to that folder. So I can get to my default, but I can also get to other folders anywhere I want. So if I'm working on this file a lot, I can actually drag the file in there as well. And if I want to get to that one a lot, I can drag that one. And they will stay there. If I close that down and I do a Command and O, these stay there until I get rid of them. So it's a really good way to do what I'm doing now, which is extending default default folder to include folders and files I'll be working with today, but not necessarily tomorrow. And then I can just get rid of them. So I can go in here, remove from sidebar, and it disappears. So if you are working repeatedly with files, you just need to get into the mindset of actually doing it, of actually dragging the folders and files over there to work with. But that's one of the most powerful features of it. What you'll probably be more used to doing is adding them in here. You'll add them to your favourites temporarily. But default folder gives you an option not to do that, so you're not cluttering up your Finder. So have we got any questions on that?
We haven't.
Okay then. I can't believe we've got no questions on default folder. Default folder's amazing.
Well, Jamie says that he only recently set it up after having the app for over a year.
That's the thing
And
with
Renee
it.
said I had it, never used it and binned it.
Oh, no, you don't want to bin it. No, it's going to save time. I think the thing with it is,
But now he's saying he may reconsider it.
you have to think about your workflow. So don't think of the apps and what features the apps have necessarily got. Think about a workflow in the most generic terms possible. So I have a folder, and that's my base folder. But then I have 4 folders that I need access to. That's then saying to you, is it worth making them favourites? If you use them repeatedly, like I do the icon folder, yes. But if not, if you're only doing it like, today I'd be working with after hours 0209, but next week it'll be 0210, then it's not worth being a favourite, but then I could use the thing on the left. So work out your workflows first and then compare your workflows with the features and then work out which workflows work best with which features. And it is worth doing to save you time. But it is one of those things, but to be honest, I find everything like that, where you need to revisit it and think, I've been using it this way for 6 months. Is there any annoyances I've got that I could do a different way? Or is there any features that have been added that could make my life easier if I change it in some kind of way? So I try to build in like buffer time. Like I'll build in 2 hours to just look at workflows and try and make them better. And nothing pleases me more than getting a workflow improved, does it, Mike? I'm quite
Correct.
a happy bunny when that happens. Right, okay then. Oh, Carol's got it. Haven't set it up. Setting it up is fun. Setting it up's fun. Sit down and work out what favourites are worth doing and add those to it. And then think about stuff that you access periodically. And then that could go on the left. There you go. Can't say it fairer than that. It's a pretty good app. I realised when I saw this how primitive the one was on Windows from Hyperionics. It was called Filebox Extender. And it was pretty good considering I'd never used default folder. But once I moved from Windows to the Mac, I thought, oh my, now I see why this is more expensive because it had so many more features. The Windows one was fairly basic. Sadly, the Windows one stopped working in the end. Microsoft made the dialog box, they would not let developers hook into the dialog boxes. So obviously this is hooking into the file save and file open dialog boxes, and sadly Microsoft decided that wasn't to be had. Do you know, it's a wonder Timmy lets that happen, isn't it? Well, it's been there that long, maybe he can't take it away. Leave it alone, Timmy, it's not broken. But it is definitely worth setting up. You might think initially is that there's a lot of setup and it isn't going to save you that much time. But it does, the odd occasion I've gone in to open a file and I've realised I've misspelt it. Oh, there was a cork I put in the other day, which I can't remember. When I do, I'll share it. And I looked at it and I thought, oh my. And it was a typo that you wouldn't want to make. And from where I was, the Mac OS system did not let me change that. But in here, I could use my utility and rename it. Otherwise, I'd have to have gone out to a Finder and then gone and find the file and then renamed it and then got back in to the file open dialog. So yes, the initial setup is going to take you 20 minutes or so, but it's worth it.
Question, is it lifetime license or subscription?
Oh gosh, no, it's not subscription. It is a perpetual license. In terms of money, I can't remember. So let's have a look. Default folder, pricing, which will open over here, and let's find out. 30 something rings a bell, but let's have a look.
$35.94.
There you go,
That's
$35.94. And that's in pounds, so probably about $40. They have got some other stuff in there. I'd forgotten about History Hound and Go 64. Do you remember that? I installed that. No, not use the others. Yeah, so it's around the $40 mark, but I would hang on until version 6, which can't be far away, unless you check, and if you buy now, you get a free one to version 6, which I don't know. Let's have a look. Let's see if it tells us. Doesn't look like it does. Let me add it to the basket and see what it
Jamie
says.
says, I'm guessing it's one license per machine.
No, I don't think it is. You don't pay per machine because I have it installed on more than one. And if you think about it, there's also that option where you can synchronize your settings up to iCloud. So I think you'll find it's per user. There may be a limitation in their licensing, but it certainly doesn't stop you. Put it like that. I can't see that it says unless it's on the blog. Check the blog. Oh, hang on. September the 13th, T minus 2 weeks and counting. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, this is the Sonoma thing. So you'd have to go back on the blog until you find the beta thing, beta 1, and see if it's now saying you get a free upgrade to 6. Other than that, I would wait for 6. But personally speaking, I definitely think it's worthwhile. It's one of the first things that I install. Let's put it like that. So do we have any other questions?
Nope.
Right, I don't think we're going into that next, so let me lose that. And head back into here. Oh, we're going straight into freebies. And I got a good one this week. No, I had no idea it did this. We've all heard of Pixabay, haven't we? You use Pixabay.
I use Pixabay.
You will be using Pixabay if you are using the Affinity apps and you use the stock panel. But did you know they had free music? Neither did I. It's called Pixabay Radio Playlists. There's a whole range of them. They go up to like 4 hours worth. The different genres like relaxing, energising, workouts and stuff. The one that I tried was the working from home one. Seeing as though that I do that all the time. And it was really good. It's more like background music, so it tries to get you in the zone to which you are trying to get into. So obviously there's a big difference between the gym workout and the yoga session. But I did try the working from home one. I enjoyed that. Now, I do have another service for this. But it was equally as good as the service that I have. Now, the service I have is something like $50 a month. It's ridiculous. But I got a lifetime deal for about 20 quid years and years ago. So that's why I use the one that I've got. But this one is totally free. So to try it, all you need to do is go to pixabay.com/playlists. And it links into all these things. So if you'd like underground techno, there you go. Give it a go and let me see how you get on. Right, okay, so from there we are going straight into, now that says Affinity Suite, that's because I didn't change the slide, but it should say Affinity Publisher 2.2 update. So, you may well have heard that Affinity released the 2.2 series of apps this week. So it's all of the apps for all of the platforms. So it is Mac, Windows, iPad, and Publisher, Photo, and Designer. I have picked a range of features in Publisher where there have been big changes. We're not talking you can change the colour of the grids. No, we're talking big changes. So the ones that I picked were date formats, custom text variables, cross-references, and updates to data merge. Okay, so starting with date formats. These might sound quite small, but when you realise the implications of them, they get much grander. So let's go and have a look at date formats. So we will need a publisher, won't we? Which we've just closed. There we go. It randomly puts the file open dialog wherever it wants. But I have a whole range of these here. So let me get to my data. Date formats. Right. So I'll be using real files, which is hairy scary, but I will. Right, this one is a real file. This is the Scrivener one. So the course creation blueprint thing. So how I would use it in a file like this. Well, the second page is straight into the contents. And then I've got the contents. At the end of this, I just have a sign off about me and then the last page. So the first thing I'd be thinking about is where exactly do I want to put this information that I'm about to put in it. I would say either at the end or at the beginning, one or the other. So I'm going to put it at the beginning before the table of contents. So I'm going to add a page in. I want to add one page. After page 1, and it's saying what master page do you want. And just a basic one, to be honest. That one's aligned to the right, is it? So we'll have a text right and OK. Now, all I've done that for is to give me a page where I can stick some text. That's it. Now, what I'm putting in here is some standard information. So when it was first published, when it was last updated, and you can take this as far as you like, but for demonstration purposes for what we need today, that's probably enough. So in here, I am going in there and first published. And I think you can imagine that this is going to involve dates. So when it was first published and latest, what did I have it down as? Last updated, that was it. Last updated. Okay. Now, I could type those in. It's not that difficult. And you can cheat if you do that. But let's imagine we want to be truthful about this. Right, first published, I would probably be the day that it was saved or whatever. So if I bring my fields palette on, you can see I have whole information in here. Now, this fields panel is getting more and more top heavy with everything that's in it. But we have document information at the top. And this is where it has a title. And I get this question at least 3 times a week. I've produced a PDF and it's not using the name of the file. It's got something else in it. That's because when you produce a PDF, it uses the title in the fields panel. You can call the file whatever you like. Just make sure that you don't have anything rude in the title in there. That's happened so many times, hasn't it? Not ours, I hasten to add. We have had the wrong title in there, but the things other people have put in there are quite frightening. So that's the document information. You also have document statistics. So who last edited it, when was it created, when was it saved, and so forth, when it was printed and exported. Right, there's good news with this. First published was when it was created. So this little thing at the bottom here, if I fold these up, you can see this one says double click field name to insert. That's actually an instruction. It's not anything that you interact with. All of these groupings have a different range of information in. So we could go into the document statistics, we could say when it was created, and if we double click on the title, that is what we get pushed in there. So this one, when it was last updated, would probably be when it was last printed or exported. And I can double click that to insert that. Now, the beauty of using this instead of you typing it in is it will get updated. Now, obviously, the first one, when it was created, won't get updated because that's a one-off. But the last updated, when it was last printed or exported, will get updated. So you don't have to remember it. You don't have to go to one place in the document and update it. That will update itself automatically. But you might not like the date format. In here, while this looks like text, if you were to double click it, it will select the entire date. And from in there, you get to edit the field. And now in here, where you've got date, you can choose what date you want. So I'm seeing Joho saying the only date format is that one. That's fine, we can do that. Must admit, I use a sort date. I don't tend to put the dashes in it, but you can do that. Now, these are using presets, but you can make a completely custom one if you want by following what they call a pattern. Now, in the help file, you will find acres and acres and acres. The list is virtually endless of what all the hieroglyphics are that you would need, including epochs and all kinds of things. But at a simple level, D or DD is a date. The difference between the two, if you put D and it's 1 to 9, you don't get a leading 0. If you put DD, you do get a leading 0. MM, capital M's, means month. Lowercase m's mean minutes. And Y means year. So you could do that weird and wonderful. Let's do the weird and wonderful American one, which would be that one, wouldn't it? We'll put the dashes in. We'll take these off here. And you've just made a custom format. So you can do whatever you want with that. Now, if we go back to one of the presets, you also have the option for language. I am not attempting the example that I read, which was Spanish. No, because Tracy's in the house. Do not want publicly shaming. But if you do want the dates in a certain language, you can do that. So I'm frantically looking down here and I'm wondering why it's not in alphabetical order. Why is Dutch not near Danish? But it's there. Dutch is there. Now, with this format, that won't make much difference. But if we do that, then it will. It will show that. In Dutch, I'm relying on Renee now to tell me that that is actually Dutch. Other than that, we can pick Spanish. Where's Spanish? Tell me there's a Spanish. There we go. I really need to move that dialogue, but you get the idea. You can choose the language if you want to. Right, let's send that back to United Kingdom. Right. Now, as I'm doing that, it's choosing a preset that it considers to be a reasonable preset, but we'll set it to that because we can. And okay. Right, moving that out of the way. So show you that again, second time, double click, right click, and in here, edit field. And that gives you the field formatting dialog and you can do what you will with it. Oh, Renee says it's Dutch. That's fantastic. Excellent. Something works. Marvellous. So if you did want to have multiple pages with that on, in different languages, you could do that. You can mix and match to your heart's content. I'm just going to pick one of the defaults in here and leave it at that. But if you did want last updated and you wanted it to include the time, you could actually do that. All from the single field. Now, bearing in mind, that must have been exported in June, which it probably was. Yes, I think I recall that. It probably was. So that is enabling you not only to put a date in there, but to format the date. Now, these dates are in the document statistics, so we'll lose the information and concentrate on the statistics. Now, in addition to that, you have other information. So you've got document sections in there. You've got continuation in there. You have general information. So if you wanted to put in the date and time right now, you can just click on that. And obviously, we would need to format it if we wanted to see the time as well. So let's put the time on it. There we go. And then you've got data merge and custom, which we'll be coming on to. So that is what they have added, the ability to format it in any way you choose, because they will give you this language and you can write your own. So think of it like Excel, where you write your own formula. And you can set different languages if you would like. Okay. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Okay, we will move on then. So what I have done with that is in my document here, I would probably add more to this, document information, make sure you've got the latest version, even put a link in to download it if I wanted. And I would probably in there where that is at the top, I would probably have that formatted down to the bottom. But that is what I can do with that. So we will save that file. We will close it and we will move on. So the next one is custom text variables. So this is to do that. You can do two things with these. In essence, what you're doing is at the document level, you are setting a name for a variable and you are allocating something to that in terms of a value. So you need to give it two pieces of information and then you can use that information further on. So let's go and have a look at that. So I am swapping my files. I am going into here and I have two of them. So I have a welcome pack here, right, for a concert. So it's a Christmas concert. So I have a poster, which is A4. I then have a VIP pass. That's the front cover of the pass. That is the back cover of the pass. And I also have a wristband. Now, there is information in here, but I would have to change it in multiple places. So I will show you what I mean. I would potentially in here go and add some text like down here, and it would be throughout the document. So if I was to put in there, artist, why is nothing appearing? Oh, now come on, let's not be silly. Or are you typing in white? Oh, no, there it is. It's huge, isn't it? Yes, that's not what we want at all. It's not the font we want. It's nothing that we want. Let's use pop-ins and let's make it smaller. That's better. And let's align it over there. Right. That will do. Right. So what I'm trying to put on there is artist Christmas concert. Right. So point with this is we're going to mention the artist multiple times. We're going to mention them there where it says to join on the first page, the poster. In here, it's going to see it says starring and there's the artist. We've just added one more there, artist. And down on the wristband, we also have artist. Now, you can make a template of that, but at the moment, you would have to put some kind of code on that and then do a search and replace for it. It would not update automatically. That is what we want to happen. So we have 4 different pages within that file, but actually it's a pack with different, the front and back of a pass, a wristband and a poster. So we need the fields dialog again, which was there at one point and has vanished, unless it's on the other screen. Hang on. No, I don't think it is. Right, so in here we need fields. So window references fields, and that opens up this here. We have access to all the information we had on the last one. So we still have the document information, we still have the stats, but this time we have 2 options. Now, this is fairly generic. I could print out multiple ones of these. It's not that they are going to a particular person and a mail merge is needed, a data merge. I just really need to replace artist with who the artist is in multiple places, in multiple formats. And that is what custom metadata is for, which they have added. So initially there's nothing there. So I hit the plus next to custom, and here are the 2 pieces of information it needs. So for the name of this, well, artist makes sense. And then I put in a value. So let's start off with U2, one of my favourites. Right, so I'm specifying 2 things, the name of the variable and the value of the variable, and then hit close. Now at that point, nothing has changed, because this is just text that I have left in place for me to remember to change. Sure, we've all had things that we've received where things haven't been changed, but we're going to do it right this time. So I've selected the word artist that's just text, and following our instructions of double-clicking the field name to insert, I am going to get the move tool and just double-click it. No, I'm not. I'm going to leave that as it was, and I'm just going to double-click it. And that automatically replaces my standard plain text with a field. If I double click that, it's selecting the field value. Right, on to the next one. I need to do the same again. So double click to select the word artist, and then double click on the custom to replace it with the value of that. So this one here, and again, replace it with artist. Move down to the wristband, select the artist, double click on artist, and we are done. Now, you would be quite right to tell me that that was no quicker, because you've had to create the variable and then you've had to apply it. Totally agree with you. But you could create the custom variable and then create a template. And if you needed to do this for other artists, so if you're working at like a local theatre and you've got lots of these concerts coming up, once you've done one, that's it, you're done. So we'll keep our eye on U2 here in the sidebar, and we will go and see this one up here. If I come into my custom metadata and I double click not on the artist but on the actual value, then I can put in there, how about the alarm? They're another one of my favourite bands. And as soon as I press enter, everything updates. So the alarm has come into page 1. It has been added on the front of the ticket. It has been added on the back of the ticket, and it has been added to the wristband. That is when it becomes much, much quicker. So this would be something that I would turn into a template. So if we go back to where it says the alarm, but we put artist in capitals, this is where I would go to File, and I would go to Save Export as Template. I do have templates that go in here. If I put it in the MacBites one, you'll actually see it. So we'll call that Concert Welcome Pack.
Renee says, can you enter Morrissey?
No, I can't. I can't spell that. No, it's not happening, Renee. Right, so at that point, I'm going to save that file but close it. So I'm going to go into File and New. I'm going to choose templates. Have I not added them? Oh, well, that's a good time to add some, isn't it? So we will whip back in there. These are the MacBites ones, so let's do that. So in MacBites here, I've got my trifold and my bingo card, and there, Concerty. I've put a Y on concert now. Right, Concerty Welcome Pack. So if I open that up, I've already got my field. I can go in there. Who else do I like? Oh, Big Country. Oh, mind you, heaven knows what I'll do with my spelling with that. Right, join Big Country at their exclusive Christmas concert. Now I can see I need to do something with that. So I did in here change the, I think I made it 100%. I did. So that there needs changing to, I usually choose percentage of height and then put 100 in like that. But once I've done that, that is all done, and the same down there. So that one would probably need to be wider. So this is something you would need to think about in the template before you make it a template like that. Would it fit in? And if not, what are you doing with it? But there you have it. So you can take a feature that's already there, which is the template, the ability to make a template, but now you can add a custom field to the template. And then when you come to use it, you don't have to change things 4, 5 or 100 times. You just type it in the once. You can add more if you need more custom fields, but that was just a basic example with one of them. So we got any questions on that?
Yeah, Renu says, I'm wondering how all the pages have different sizes and how that's done, but that may be something for another after hours.
Oh, I can show you that if you like. We will pencil that in for next week, Mike. In this case, it was a welcome pack that. I am working at the moment on a genuine file with a mail merge, with a data merge. Oh, it's complicated, but it's coming along. I've got a proof of concept. You know when you should be prepping and you suddenly have a brainwave and your hair off down a different path? Yes, that happened. But yeah, that's a pack. And that way I only have to create things once. And then when I export them, send them off to print. I think these were CMYK with a bleed on them. So yeah, that would just head off and be fine. Right, so that's the first one. Let's get rid of that. We don't need to keep that, do we? Hang on, let's do that. So we won't save that. Right. I was thinking about that and thinking something like a welcome pack is all very well, but I wanted to think about how it might work for something that I am likely to be creating. So if we remember this, do you want to find the link for that, Mike? This was a freebie that I put out. And I was thinking I do have a template for this. And there were things I deliberately chose not to do.
The direct link?
We had a sign-up link in the lead magnets table.
Right.
I think it was on lead pages, but don't quote me. I have no idea. No idea. If you already subscribed, you don't get to subscribe twice. Right, so what I was thinking was, how could I use these custom fields for something like this? Because this kind of thing is unique per page. So I don't really have too much scope for things that ripple through or, change it once and it changes it in 20 places. And then I thought, hang on a minute. If you get used to the fact that custom metadata lives in the fields panel, then the rest of this actually does start to work. So up here, This one is called the Affinity Publisher for iPad Secrets. But let's take that from there. Now, hang on. I think I might have needed to do some changes. Oh, no, maybe not. Maybe not. I have no idea. Let's find out. So I'm going to add a new thing here, a new custom field, and the name of this would be title. And the title's value would be what the title currently is. Now, for this file at the moment, with that doesn't give us any benefit whatsoever. But how I would turn this into a template is by typing the word title in there. And as you've seen, you can then go into here and double click. Now, I would have to go into this and manipulate it to get it to look right. And I do have that coming from all over the place. So I did have to make some changes to that to make it work. Why are you not moving? I think I had it. I think it needed unlocking from somewhere. But that was one of the things I thought about. But if we move that. Another thing is, on these pages, some of these are right aligned and some of these are left aligned. They're using two different templates. But if I wanted the title of this on those pages, I could do that much more easily by going into here and finding these. So this is where this is coming from, so that's where it should be changed. But let's concentrate on the text left and the text right. So particularly these two. Text right, text left. So on this one over here, if I were to put in, definitely don't want it that big. Let's get a tiny little thing in here. Literally only want it tiny, do not even want that. So let's get rid of that and put one of those in over here. So at the top of there, and I want it very tiny. And I don't want a lot of space and all kinds of stuff, but we'll do that. Something like 8 points is probably enough. And take it there and put the title in. Now, in this box, I would then want that to be aligned over there. I probably don't want that to be bold. And I may even want that up there a bit so it's further away from my text. And I've got that silly, silly ruler showing, which is now getting in my way. And he's not letting me do that. No, I don't want you to link. Come out of it. Come on, that's better. Right, let's take that up there like that. So I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to move to the left one and paste it in. Move it along there and align it to the left. Close the masters and then go and have a look at these pages. And in here, you can see it now has Affinity Publisher for iPad Secrets. But I didn't type it, so I don't need to go in and edit the master pages. I can just come in here and change it. So if this wasn't Affinity Publisher, if this was photo, I could just do that and everything would update. So all the pages based on the left text and all the ones based on the right one will all update. So if we come back up and look at these two will be updated. So while you could use them in a document, and there's nothing wrong with doing it that way, it's one of the features now that you may want to be thinking about putting in templates. So just like your text styles and your paragraph styles, your character styles, your general styles, this is something that you may want to put in a template and leave yourself a note that that's where it came from before you manually overwrite it. So it could be used for the title, it could be used for headings, it could be used in the footer, it could even be used in the body of it. So if we look at what we've actually got in here, this actually says Affinity Publisher for iPad Secrets. It does, and it's just text. So I could take hold of it and I could replace that with that, and as this gets changed, it all gets changed. So if we set that back to Publisher, I don't even have to remember to do that. So there is at least 2 good examples of that. So have you got any questions on that?
No.
Are you just ODs in? They're all chatting, aren't they? I'm assuming they're paying attention as well. Right, let's save that, come out of that. Okay. Right, the next one. Right, this one was requested, wasn't it? Cross-references. This is something that some people are not interested in the slightest in, and others are giddy with glee that it's finally arrived. I would say I don't want to use the word complicated. It's not complicated, but it is very, very fully featured. More fully featured than I expected. So let's take a look at it. So to demonstrate this one, I have got an Office Summit file. Now this was probably a good one to choose to demonstrate it because this file is as old as the hills. This was the very first file I created in the beta version of Affinity Publisher in 2018. So it's poor when it comes to textiles and stuff. But in this file, it would make sense, and I know the pages are next to each other, but let's imagine that they're not. Let's imagine they're not. So I've got 2 pages down here towards the end. There's this one that is, this was a demonstration of tables, right? And this one, you would need to know how well you've done. It is Excel functions that's listed. Okay. With this one, you're going to have a solution. And the solution, and I haven't mentioned that on here, the solution is down here on this page. I also have 2 Sudokus on here. Be able to read this if we turn that off. Right, there's 2 different versions of that. And again, the solution is on a different page. So the kind of thing you would use a cross-reference for is to add to this page and tell people where the solution is. Now, yes, you could type in, the solution is on page 22. Right, it's over here. But if you start adding pages, then it's no longer on that page number. So a cross-reference will update. Okay. So, very, very simple. On the page that has the text, image, or whatever you want to reference another page, you make space for the cross-reference. So what I'm going to do with that is underneath this here, I will put a little box. I always get the wrong one. I swear that those things need changing because I am always picking the wrong one. Right, I'm going to put a box on there. Now I don't really at this stage need to type anything in here. I could do if I wanted, but best practice at this stage, I would say don't put anything in that you don't need to put in. Now, I am going to type in here and we see that straight away we have a problem in this text box, which is it's putting the text at this end. So it needs to go to the left-hand edge. It would be better if this had some text style, which we will work on. But at the moment, it is text aligning over there. So I do have my insertion point there. The next thing I need to do is to bring up my cross-reference window, which you will find in your references, cross-references. Mine is on the other screen, raring to go. There it is. Now, there's 2 elements to this. This is a panel, just like the Fields panel. I have made it a little bit wider so we can read it, but other than that, nothing else to see there. So what I need to do with this is add a new cross-reference. So that is the button at the bottom. When you click that button, you get this Insert Cross-Reference dialog box. These 2 things are not the same. The dialog box that we're working with now is subordinate to the Cross-References panel. But this is where the action is. This is how you create it. So we'll work through on this. First of all, you can link from the text you are about to insert to paragraphs, index marks, or anchors. Now, I haven't done anything special here. I just know that the answers on these 2 pages, pages 24 and 25, which are actually numbered 21 and 22. So I want to put a link into a paragraph. That means I can't link to page 22 because there is no paragraph there to link to. But this tells you on page 21 what words were there, what functions from Excel were added into this grid. So I really need to link to that little text box with 3 columns in. That's what I need. So when we look at what's in here, you can see paragraph text 11111. What's all this about? This is where it gets complicated. This is correct. What we're seeing is correct. But what's the 111 and everything? It's the Sudoku. It's listing paragraph text from the Sudoku. Now, if you can imagine you've got a document, it's 500 pages, you're never going to find anything. That is why you are able to filter it in two different ways. You can filter for style. So if it's a heading you want to link to, or if it's a caption you want to link to, you can do that. Or if you happen to know the text, you can do that. So I think Excel was mentioned, the Excel functions word search on page 21, which is that box. So by filtering by the content of it, I'm straight there. Now, next thing, that's the top half. So that top half there is all to do with finding the destination that you want to link to. Once you've done that, which we have, you then move on to this bit down here. And this is all to do with what you see on the page we're working on. So your options in here. They provide a few presets. There's two presets. There is paragraph body on page number, and there is page number X, and that's it. I added this one, which was see also paragraph body on page number. Now, that doesn't really work when what you want to say is the solution is on page X. So what you can do in the box below, so you got this one here, which is showing you language and presets. If you do not have a preset that is what you want, you can make one. So in here, it's saying page number, and that's it. But you do have this disclosure triangle. So I would want this to actually say the solution is on, and I would want the word page with a space, page number. The solution is on page X. You could have that saying whatever you wanted. You'll find the solution on page whatever. I've seen things in like magazines that say, struggling ? Get the answer on page. You could put that. It doesn't matter. You can put whatever you want. So let's say that that's what we want. If that page number wasn't there, you will find that in here. And as you click on one of these, you will get a placeholder. So if it's the page number you want, that is how you get the variables in there. Right, having got that, if I only want this in one place, I can just enter it now and that'll be fine. But I have 3 puzzles, and I want to say the solution is on page X for all of them. So if I go to my burger menu, my preset actions, I can create a preset for that and I can give it a name. So if I call that puzzle solution, you can see it fills in the name in the preset, and it means that I can audition these now. Do I want it to say that? Do I want it to say see also? And I'm not losing anything. I can go back, and that's the one I've decided with. The solution is on page X. Now at that point, I can choose whether I want a style override, which is, do you want this in with a hyperlink? Do you want it as an emphasis? Do you want it strong? Or what do you want it as? Or you can just leave it alone. But if you do want it to be marked as a hyperlink, you could do that. And you've got generate hyperlink on it anyway. These are dimmed out because they are not relevant to what the other stuff that we've got. And at that point, you can just click OK. And that gives us the solution is on page whatever it is. And you can see that despite the fact that the style wasn't styled like that, it has added to it the character style. Now, what I can do in here with my text styles, it looks like I've got this set as footer, blah, 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 and I probably want that as left dark, which was smaller. But it won't change in terms of what it actually looks like because we added the hyperlink style, just so people know when we make this into a PDF that they can tap it. But that's not actually needed. It's just an indication that you could do that. So we have that for the first one. That is now listed in here. And it says Excel functions, which is its destination, and then the value, which is what we have created a preset for. And it's on page 18. Right. Now, going back a bit, we have, so that's this page here. We have these two. We have the easy Sudoku and the this could take a while Sudoku. And we need to do the same thing, which is, I want to add a text frame underneath it. and I want to put a cross-reference in it. Now, at this point, I think that is also aligning to the left. So I would like that to be footer, move it to the left and to make it dark. And that, if we zoom in, is exactly what it's going to do over there. Now, I don't want to type anything. I just want it automatically to appear. And because I've done one, it makes it much easier. I click on the insert, and again, I need to filter. So I think it was called easy. So if I type in easy, you can see I've got the word easy twice. One is where I am, and one is where I want it to go. And I know that the solution is on a page after the first one, so it's the easy one. Now, it remembers the last preset I used. But again, if I wanted to change the preset, I could do that. I could audition these and then pick the one that I actually want, which is puzzle solution. I won't override the style this time, so you can see the difference, but it will generate a hyperlink, and okay. And the only difference is, as I say, it will hyperlink, but it doesn't look like a hyperlink. Then I need to create a third, which is down here. Again, I just need to put a box in there. That one looks like it is formatted correctly. So I need to go back and insert a cross-reference. This time I'm looking for, I think it was take a while, wasn't it? And I think this is a bit of a limitation. It needs to be the first word, which I think was this could take a while. So you can see it's listed in here, but it is making a good stab at it that this is the one that I want. It hasn't put these above these two, even though these appear first in the document. My rationale for thinking it's picked these two is because they're the closest to where I am. So it's this one that we want on page 21. Again, puzzle solution is selected because that's the one I've been working with. I will override it with a hyperlink style so we know it's a link, and I will click OK, and there we go. Right, so that is putting the cross-references in. If you need to go back and edit these, you can. You can go on there and click this. You can in there edit it. So edit the cross-reference, and it will take you back to this dialog, and any changes that you need to make, you can make there. I don't need to make any changes, but if you do, there you go. Now, how do we check that this is working at this point? Well, we don't need to see the cross-references anymore. Let's get those out of the way. What I will do is I will produce this file as a PDF. Now, I'm going to check this. Right, my table of contents needs updating, and it thinks there's a load of stuff spelt wrong, which there isn't. I think I do have overflowing text. But you know, that'll do. It's nothing to do, it won't impact what I'm trying to do here. So ignore and continue. Let's go and choose PDF for my output. You can specify all of the things in here if you want to. It does take quite a while to generate a preview, to the point that most of the time I don't even bother. So I will put that in there. Why didn't you go to that? Come on. That's nothing. I'm not even sure if you're trying or not, but you know what? You're going to be doing it. Right, let's put it in there. Why isn't it opening these folders? Oh, we'll put it in there if you insist. Oh, now you're doing it. Crying out loud. I think it's like 20 minutes behind. Are you just going to save that? That'll do. Just save it. I just want to open the PDF and see that it does go to where we want it to go. Shouldn't take that long. There's not that many pages. It's quite graphic intensive though, isn't it? Right, so it's done it. Now I just need to go and find it, seeing as though it's put it in its own place. There we go. Right, hopefully this will work. Right, here is the document. So let's whiz down to these. And you can see what a difference it makes to this, that there is a hyperlink on it. Because you wouldn't know that there was a hyperlink on that one. That's why you have this style override. So I think if somebody sees something, it's blue, then they know it's a clickable link. So if I go to that, it takes us down to here and the solution. If I go back and I go to this easy one, it will take us to this one here. And if I go back again and we go to it could take a while, it takes us lower down and it's linking to that box there. And that is how the cross-references work. So, do we have questions on that? Sure we do.
We've just got one come in.
Mm-hmm.
Could you briefly show how to create a new PDF export preset? I can't see how to create a new press ready one with printer's marks. That's from Tracy.
Now they have fiddled with that, and I haven't checked it out yet, but let's have a go. Ignore and continue. Right, when you're in here, right, you have your basics, which is the file settings in here. So one question, they don't make it clear that the default in here is for print or press ready. And if you choose either of those, your cross-references are not going to work because it's not digital. We don't have interactive paper yet, but they don't tell you that. So for those to work, you need to choose a digital output for the cross-references. But if what you want to do is create a completely new one, then from in here, choose the one that's nearest to what you want. So let's say digital high quality. And then make your changes. So if you want to say you want that to be 400, do that. You can say if you want to include the bleed or anything else either, so we'll include the bleed on it. And then in the advanced, set the rest of it in here. I don't think I've transferred the one for United's printing, nor our other one, which I'm going to need within the week, so I'll be doing this as well. So you set all of this up over here. Once you've done that, so what changes could we make? Do we include the printer's marks? Here we go. Include printer's marks. Right, all of them, the lot. Right. What you then do is there's this burger menu, and it's annoying because it's hiding. You literally can't even see all the burger menu. But if you click on there, that's where you create the preset. I think that is absolutely ludicrous. Why that doesn't stay in one place at the top, I have no idea. So you hit create preset, and we will call this Tracy. And OK. And that is now going to be available as a preset from in here. So if I cancel out of that and go back into it, ignoring and continuing, it will remember the last one, but if my last one was high quality digital and I wanted to choose Tracy, I can then choose it. And everything that you had selected before is there, and you just hit export. So let's export it. It's doing weird things. Let's put an X on that and save that. And hopefully this time it'll be all full of printer's marks and kinds of stuff like that. It's utterly ridiculous that that is just hidden away on a burger menu, the indication of which is non-existent as to what it actually does. Again, that's another question that I think I've had about 4 times in the last month. And people are setting it up every time and taking screenshots and then resetting it up next time. But you might be exporting that 15 times in one session. So let's open up that PDF, and there's all your printer's marks. So yes, that does work. Burger menu, couldn't even see it. I know, the thing is, I mean, it's bad enough having the burger menu there. It's bad enough not knowing what that is. It doesn't give you any indication. But secondly, to have it moving up and down is even more ridiculous. And thirdly, the fact it gets covered up with the scroll bar and you've got a perfect storm of nobody can find it. And trust me, nobody can find it. Okay, so any other questions other than that?
No.
Okay, I'd see it. Is it possible? They could be thinking that, but I think they need to. I mean, they've not put in it the #1 requested thing, and every time there is an update that's like an X point whatever, people are like, oh, EPUB. No, it's still not there. And all you get is InDesign can do it. I know InDesign can do it, and this can't yet. So I don't know whether that'll have to be a version 3 or whether that will come along. We never know. Right, okay. So let's get rid of that then. If we got no questions on that, we will do that and get rid. Right. This is probably going to be the longest demo, but it's so worth it. This is some updates they've made to data merge. They have provided 0 in the way of information about how it works, which was where my Thursday went, trying to work out how it works and what might be hidden behind a scroll bar under a burger menu. But I think I've sussed them. So let's have a look at the changes to data merge. Right. So I'm going in here, and what I'll do is I'll start you off with the finished thing, and then we'll go and create it. So the finished thing is a full report here. So in my pages here, I have a proposal. And what I've done is the team have been added at page 16. So this is the project team. And pages 17, 18 and 19 are the team. And I do hope Kim's awake. We've added in a special fella. He's a bit grumpy, isn't he? He's the last one there. He's the sales rep. And it's Brian Slacker, or as we know him, Slacker Brian. We've now put a face to the name. Right, so that would be a data merge. If I wanted to do that manually, I would need locking up, wouldn't I? It would be better not done manually. So I need to data merge these 3 pages. Now, let's look at what we've actually got in here. We have email addresses, we have web addresses, we have Twitter links. Right, that's what we need to create. So that's what the finished article looks like. What we're aiming to create is this, which is just the 3 pages. Now, the reason that I'm not data merging into a document that is the full report is that way madness lies. You do not want anything else in there. I don't want even to define 3 pages. I want to define 1. And then when I merge it, I want it to create 3. So you're seeing this backwards. You know where we're heading. This is what we want to create. So I have in here, I did want to just measure that. 56, really? I thought it was 60, but never mind. Right, from there, I have a starting point, which is this. Now, the only reason that I created a starting point, rather than actually create it from scratch, was the styles. So I have a base style. You know, in here, I have this set to hierarchical and sort by type. So in here, everything hangs off the base style, apart from my character styles, which are independent. I always do it this way. So in my base style, I have a body style. And under the body style, I have here a profile. And under profile, I have the blog, department, email, name, position, and Twitter. That's the only reason I haven't started this file from scratch, because this is not a demo of styles. The styles are just there. Right, other than that, it's an A4 page. It is set with a 3mm bleed. The margins are 10, 10, 10 and 15 at the bottom. And what I need to do is to create that layout that we've just seen. So to start that, I need the data merge layout tool. And I need to draw out on there a 3x3 grid. Now, this is not a table. This is a data merge layout. So across the top there, all of this is contextual information to do with the records in this grid. So this is where I say how many rows and how many columns. So I'm going to set that up for 3 rows and 3 columns. You can then specify gutter and stuff like that, but I only need to put 2 things in here at the moment. So I need a placeholder for a graphic, which is going to go in there. Now, as I'm drawing this out, you can see I'm drawing 1 and it is drawing lots of them. And the reason it's drawing lots of them is what I do in this top one is what ripples through to all the rest. So I really only need to work on this top one here. Now, I'm not quite sure text-wise how much space I'm going to need, but I'm going to bump that one up a bit to the top, I think. Right, below here is where the text is going to go. So I need to put in here some text. So I'll get that lined up with that, like that. And then I need to put the text in there that I need. And I'll probably need to open the other one to see what order I put them in. But where is all this stuff coming from? Well, it's going to be a data merge. So as it stands at the moment, I think we had name at the top. Did I make a PDF of this? There's my 3 pages. Right, I'll tell you what I'll do. This shows you how I work for real. All right, obviously you can see there, that is what it needs to look like, and I need to reference that. So I have my app, which is ScreenFloat, and I will draw around an example of it, and then that will hover around on my other monitor, and I'll be able to see it while I design it without having to have this file open. So there's something that I do for real. Right, so the first thing I'm going to have in here is the name, and then I'm going to have the position, then I'm going to have the department. I wonder if I'm going to have room for everything. Right, email, not the way this is. Blog, I think, was the other thing. And the last thing that's in there that we can't see is Twitter. Right, I would need, obviously, to format all of this, which we're going to worry about shortly. But right now, this is a data merge that we are creating. So I'm not going to do this by hand. I just need to set this first one up. So we haven't done data merge in a while. What we need to do is go to Window, Data Merge Manager, which I already have open over here. And I need to link it to a spreadsheet. But do I have a spreadsheet yet? We've had plenty of fun with this spreadsheet, haven't we, Mike?
We have.
Oh, I broke Excel. And bad words were said. Right, here is what the spreadsheet looks like. So I'm going to take you through this spreadsheet. Right, it isn't a particularly clever spreadsheet. It is just basic information. I think anybody could create this. It's literally just text. So in the first column, I have the names, including Slacker Brian at the bottom. Then in the second column here, I have the position, and that has their position in it. In column C, I have the departments, and then in D, I have the email addresses, and we've given them email addresses at MacBites. We're very kind. Their blog is at MacBites, so this is, again, just text. We have put in the Twitter handle. We have the Twitter URL, and we have a headshot, and that is a link. It's a URL. Well, yeah, I guess it is a URL. It is a file reference for where it is. So users Elaine G, Dropbox, projects, after hours 0209, 04 Affinity 2.2 update, and then within that, this is 05 data merge as the demo, headshots, and then each name. So what that looks like, if we look at that folder, is there's the headshots, and within there are all the people. So they are just images on my hard drive. Right, so let's get that out of the way. That is the data that I'm working with. So I need to hook this data up to the spreadsheet. Now, I can leave it open while I'm doing it. It got very uppity last night, but I'll trust it tonight. So the first thing that we need to do in the data merge is click on the plus here and go find it. So it's in here. Hopefully it's going to open this. Excellent. Right. There is my source data that I helpfully called source data. Right. And I'm going to open that. Now, that lists it in here as being your source. You do need to choose the sheet where the thing's coming from, but I only have one sheet called people. And it does something else as well. It populates the fields panel over here. So you can see you have data merge source data.xlsx. And in it, it takes the headings from the top of the columns and adds them into here. Fabulous. So that can go over here while we work with the fields and put them in the right place. So in here, we need to replace the word name with name and position with position. Now, because this is going to go off the end here, while I'm at it, I'm going to go in here and say, format that with the name, which is there. Format position as position. Did not want to do that. That one is not department yet. We need to double click on that and then select it and then apply department to it. That's going to be email. So we'll put email in. We will select the email and format that as email. And you can see what's happening as I'm doing this. These styles have been created in such a way that there's a smaller gap between them, so it's pulling everything up as we go. So in there, change that for the data merge of blog and select that and apply that. One click on there, not two. Right, there's Twitter. So Twitter handle and select that, and finally put Twitter over there. Now there was one nicety that I wanted, which was, as well as just having Twitter, I thought it'd be nice if we had an image to represent Twitter so people knew it was Twitter, because we're calling it Twitter, but it's actually X, but we don't want to call it X, do we? So I have here this Twitter logo. Now obviously it is huge. It is far, far too huge, but we will make it much smaller. And because it's touching that box, you can see you do have it in every box. So because it's in that first one, we actually want it much smaller than that. Like that size. And if we had it there, it would be great if the Twitter handle appeared to the right of it. So how we do that with this graphic, don't even think it needs to be that big. Let's make it 3mm and put it there. We need to go into the wrap options in here and tell it to wrap that. And if we put 1mm on the right, it will shove it just to the right enough that it won't look ridiculous. So let's pop that there. Now if we look at the page, we can see we've got multiple little Twitter logos and we are good to go. Or are we? Well, we could have a look what that looks like, because in here we have the option to preview with one record. So it's previewed. Right. Yes and no. We haven't got any pictures. So we've forgotten to hook up the pictures. Right. So to hook up the pictures, we select the blog and we have the headshot as the last field. So if we double click on that, it doesn't actually give us a preview of the headshot, but what it does do is change it so it looks like that is going to work. It knows that it is a data merge image field. So if I use my data merge manager again and I preview with a record, we should get John Smith in there, and we have. And I'm sure if we worked all the way through, we'd find Slacker Brian. But we'll leave that. Don't want to get too excited, do we? Right, so we've tested it, right, with our preview. And that looks fine. Or does it? Well, we'll find out. So that's what we've got. What I'm going to do is save that. It's still our starting point. But what I will do to generate it and have a look, is it working or not? I will hit the generate button on here. And that will create a completely new file. It should have 3 pages in it. And there's Slacker Brian at the end. So all of these are different images. So that's working. So far, so good. All of these are correct. But that's what we would have got in 2.1. Let's have a look what's wrong with it. Right. Well, we formatted these. That's fine. John Smith, sales executive. That's great. But this isn't clickable. The link isn't clickable. And this isn't clickable. That's what they've added. So let's close that file and go back to here and fix it. Right. This field is coming from our data. That's correct. We double clicked it, put it in there. What we didn't do was use one of the new features, which is double click it, right click on it, and in the midst of all this lot, you should have the option in here. Don't fail me now. Where have you gone? Not even seeing it. Don't think I wanted to do that. Where's it gone? Here we go. Right. Do I want this to be a link? Well, I do. I want it to be a hyperlink. Then I have to tell it where I want it to go. So you choose the type, and it's not a URL, because if it were a URL, it's giving you a preview and showing you what it will look like. And an email does not start with HTTP. So in the URL, we need to change that to email. You could type an email in at that point, but we don't want the same one for all the characters. So we put a tick in from data merge, and then you have to tell it what field contains the email address, which is email in there. What character style do you want? And the character style is coming from our styles over there. And we said if it was blue, it would indicate it was a link. So we'll put OK, and that is what that will look like. Right, we'll select the blog at this point, which is this is a URL. And in here, we want to insert a hyperlink. It's not an email, it's a URL. We want it from the data merge, and the value is contained in our blog link there. Okay. Before I go any further, what I'm going to do with that is save it and merge it again and make sure that those two work. Okay. Right, zoom into it. Not bad, apart from the email hasn't come through, so we need to see what's wrong with that. But in here, we do have that, and it is clickable. I need to see what's wrong with the email, so let's sort that out first. It was fabulous when it worked in rehearsals. Right, let's delete that and start again and make sure it's right. Right, so in our data merge, we are inserting that. We are then selecting it, right-clicking and inserting a hyperlink to an email from the data merge, and that is the field. So with a bit of luck, that is going to work. Fingers crossed. It worked in rehearsals. Luckily, I've got one I did earlier. In true form. There we go. It's working this time. That's what it looks like. So if this was a PDF, these would be clickable or tappable. We do have a problem though, which is the Twitter one isn't. So let's go and fix that. Right, so back in here we have Twitter handle, and that is showing us the @. So I can select that and right click on it, and I want to insert a hyperlink. Okay, exactly the same as the others so far. Choose a URL, say you want it from the data merge. Which field is it? Now, this is the huge thing that they've added and not documented at all. For the email, we want to see the email, and the email is the link. For the blog, we want to see the URL, and the URL is the link. For the Twitter handle, that is not true. We want to see the Twitter handle, but we want the link to be the Twitter URL. And that is why there are two fields in the data source. One is now used to show you what it is, and the other is the link behind it. You could use that for the email and the blog if you wanted. If you wanted to hide the link, but they can tap it, you could do that. I've only done this with one, with the Twitter handle. So we're showing the Twitter handle, but when they tap it or click it, they're using the Twitter URL. So in here, do not choose Twitter handle, choose Twitter URL, and OK. It will not impact what you see. The two are now separate. That's the bit they didn't explain at all. Right, so we've got that in there. Let's merge it and let's see what we get. Absolutely perfect. So what we're seeing in here is the email. We're seeing the blog link, but in here we are seeing a nice logo, an @ their handle, but behind it is the full URL. So in terms of your data merges now, they can be as neat and tidy as you like. You could have an image that represented something or some random text that represented something else, rather than having to put in these. So if you didn't want the https:// you could take that away as long as you had two fields. One would be the blog title and the other would be the blog URL, just like we've done with Twitter. Twitter handle, Twitter URL. So those 3 pages that we've got there are perfect, but they're not in our report yet. So what I'll do with that is save that file, which it's putting all over the place. Let's try and get it in the data merge folder. Right, this is the 3 pages for the company report, but what I'm going to do is put on the night. So you know I'm not cheating. That's the one I've just created. Right, so that's the file. So we're now juggling 3 files. This file is the master file, the one that I would edit if I wanted to change the look and feel of it. So I do need to save that. That's my master file. This file that I've ended up with is an Affinity publisher file with the 3 pages in it. So I can close that down. What I now need is a report without the 3 pages ready to put them in. So this is my report. It's got all the pretty pictures in it. That's Manchester, you know. Yeah, I've never seen it look like that either. So all of the images, text, sample text, etc. is in there. As I move through it, I have put a page in. This is the start of the project team. This is where the project team pages need to go. So I don't need this page in it, but I do need those 3 pages putting in it. So I'm going to delete that placeholder, and I want my 3 pages to come in after page 16. So I'm going to document, and I am adding pages from file. Then I need to tell it which pages. So these 3 pages made on the night are the ones that I want. So it gives me a preview. Right, what do you want? I want all the pages from this file. I want you to put them in after page, I know it's saying 17. No, I want it in after page 16. And OK to that. That pushes in my 3 pages into this completed report. And then I can apply whatever I want with this. So for instance, I've no idea what masters this has got, master A. Right, what I would probably do with it is create a master for the employees. So I could go into here. This is the master that's applied. So I'm going to duplicate master A, which heaven knows where it'll put it. I think actually I did. I've got a team one. Right, I created a team one. So this one has a stripe down the side. So what I want to do there is drag that onto there, and you can see it's added this strip to it. I'll drag it onto the other 2 pages, and it now looks like it belongs to this file, even though those 3 pages were generated outside this file. And that then becomes my finished report with my pages in there. So next thing to do, save the file and export the file. We will take it out. I'm going to ignore pre-flight and hope there's nothing wrong with it. We'll go in here and make this a high quality PDF and export that. And again, heaven knows where it's going to put that. We'll try and get it into data merge and save it in there. So I think there was something like 20 odd pages. It's got lots of graphics in it though. I think the file itself is about 200 meg. So it's crunching its way through the graphics, and eventually I should get a PDF over here. So I'm going to open that PDF. That is 30 meg. And show you what we've got. So let's get down to page 17, which should be our team. Getting there we are. And there's our 3 pages. And here are our links. So this one would open up a mail to link. You can see it says mail to John Smith. This one would go out to a non-existent page on MacBites. And this one would actually go to Twitter, my Twitter handle, because that's what I put in the spreadsheet. But this was just to show you that where it's going does not need to bear any relation anymore to what we're seeing. That's the big update. So I could click on that and it would take me out to Twitter. So do you want to see this in Vivaldi? Yes, and it's opening up on my other screen. And we're not going to look at Twitter because we might get sidetracked by whatever's trending. We've done that before, haven't we? But that is the huge update. So if I take us into that, you can see what that looks like. And that looks pretty decent, doesn't it? Liking that. So have we got any questions on that?
I don't think there was. No. Tracy wanted to know the story behind Brian's slacker, so I told her that.
Oh, that was Kim. Because Brian was constantly underperforming, wasn't he? He was. So he's become known as Slacker Brian. He now features in every demo, so we're working him to death.
Renee says brilliant, and Annie says blinking marvellous.
Excellent, excellent. I just wish they'd provide a little bit more information when they add new features. You sat looking at it with like, well, that doesn't work. And you're having to piece it together and go through dialog boxes like an idiot, just testing what something does, because some things just aren't obvious. But they are making that fields panel more and more important. And yet I know people who've been using Publisher for a couple of years and then they never use the fields panel. It comes as a complete revelation to them that, document information's in there, like the title and the author. So that isn't actually showing by default. It might be a good idea if they did have that showing by default. What I do with this fields panel is I try to leave this as vanilla as possible, but the fields are so important that mine goes next to the strokes up there and is always available. And when I'm working with it in terms of data merge, I pull it out, so I've got the height on it and use it that way. But it is always there because at least I'm going to need it for the document information. Like this one is called directory. I didn't call it directory. Actually, I may have done when I started with it. But obviously it's not called directory now. So if I produced it, it's going to have a title that is not the document title. So it's always handy, even though the fields, if you undid all of these, you'd be scrolling up and down. But that document information is always good to check as a pre-flight thing. Put a note in your pre-flight to check the fields before you start. It'd be nice if that was an option, but I don't think it is yet. Right, okay.
Question from Annie.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find it fun exploring undocumented info?
When you get it working, it's great. But if you think of how many different things you're doing at the same time, for a start, I think it only came out on Tuesday or Wednesday, which thanks for that. Mind you, I did once do a 2-hour demo, didn't it, on Friday, and they brought it out on a Thursday. So it wouldn't be the first time. It's great when it clicks and it's like, that works. Okay, now I need to document what's happening. But what I do find annoying is it's always better to have proper data to demo it with. So, I need 27 pictures, and I need 27 headshots. I need 27 names, 27 emails, and all of that. And I don't find that bit fun. I find it fun when it works. So if I just did, like random things like item 1, item 2, there's not anything without beyond a proof of concept. I like the data to actually look like data that people can understand. Like, oh, that's like O'Brien. He works in IT. I love it when it comes together, but sometimes it doesn't come together as fast as you would like it to come together. Let's put it like that. Okay, if we have nothing else, I will head into here. Coming up. Well, we know next week we're going to have what's left over from the Affinity stuff from this week, because some of the stuff is not as interesting as I found the publisher stuff, let's put it like that. Things like changing colours of stuff like that. I also forgot to mention, but it's important that I do mention it, in case it happens to you. There are reports, and I suffered this myself, that the delete key no longer works, that your backspace key does not delete anything. So I got Mike to check. He updated eventually. And I said, can you just check that? And his delete key was working, backspace. Mine was not. What had happened was in the update, in the keyboard definitions, the delete key had been unmapped. So it was listed as there's the delete feature. What is the key for it? And it was blank. I think it only happens if you already have custom shortcuts. But you know what, Affinity? It's not helpful. It's not helpful. I'm trying to deal with new features, not work out why my key isn't working. So what I needed to do was go in and remap the backspace key to the delete option, which I did, and it still didn't work. I needed to do that as step 1, and as step 2, I needed to actually use the menu to delete something, and then the key started working. So if that does happen to you, and I believe it's only a Mac OS thing, that's the fix for it. Don't get as grumpy as I did. So we'll be back with more Affinity stuff. And available on demand is everything that we do. So youtube.com/Elaine Giles, where you will find the After Hours playlist. And you can get to that directly because the URL is hideous. You can use macbites.co.uk/afterhours playlist, and that will get you there faster. And of course, we love you. And if you love us, give us a like, because it really does make a difference. And you could subscribe and hit the notification bell, and that way you won't miss anything. Now, if you're watching on demand, you have no excuse not to leave a comment. You can't leave a comment when we're live. You can use the chat when we're live, but you can't leave a comment. Afterwards, you can't use the chat, but you could leave a comment. So, no excuse. Leave a comment. We like comments. Right, I'm sending a mail out tomorrow. Oh, I've decided, Mike. Don't let me forget. I'm sending a mail out tomorrow. So make sure that you subscribed. It will have the timings in from tonight. Because while we always include that for MacBites subscribers, I have many, many, many people who are subscribed who would be interested in the Affinity stuff. So there's definitely a mail going out. So that is elainegiles.com/VIP. And then there is the MacBites mail at macbites.co.uk/MacBites-mail. Been lots of mails there, hasn't there? Are we up to 9 shows consecutive?
Something like
Oh,
that.
we're on for a record. We are on for a record. And of course, that's where all the Advent stuff is. Right, there's also Slack, where we carry on the conversation. And if you want to join us and are not already a member, you need to go to macbites.co.uk/join Slack. If you are already a member, you need to go to macbites.co.uk/Slack, and that will log you straight in. Right, so there we go. What have we got to chat about? I'm thinking ice cream, but it's a bit cold, isn't it? Oh, it's fabulous, the weather this week. It's freezing. I'm loving it. Loving it. In fact, we went straight, didn't we, from having the fan on to thinking about putting a jumper on. Because I said earlier, it's cold, isn't it? Mike said, it's freezing. I said, it's fabulous, isn't it? Now, we are told, sadly, that Monday is going to be warm. But I think they could be lying, you know. I'm hoping they're lying. Let's put it like that. We don't need it to be warm. What's the weather like where you are? Let me know. Let me know in the chat. While I try and get the chat. Oh, no, you see, I was right about not going to Twitter because I got a notification there. Oh, it's all right. It's jammy. That's fine. Right. Let me see what we've got on there. Right, now I can see the chat. Excellent. Excellent. Oh, Kim loves Slack O'Brien. He's become a totem, hasn't he? Definitely. So Tracy's going to be using that. Excellent. As is Renee. Michael Brown and David Taylor are twins. You know, Renee, they could be, because by the time I'd got to like 25, I was going cross-eyed with who was who. In fact, I started doing it and I thought, you know, I better not have any names here that could be like a man or a woman, because I don't want to, you know, like if you've got a foreign name and you don't know. So I stayed well away from that. 12 degrees currently. What are we at the minute? Let's have a look. Well, I think we measure different. Are we in cells? Oh, 11. There you go. 11. And tomorrow, 20 on Monday. That was the bit that annoyed me. 20 on Monday. Don't like getting to the 20s. But after that, every day from Wednesday through to a week on Sunday is 17 degrees. Given that today was 15 and it was a tinge chilly, I think 17 is about perfect. So as long as it stays like that, we're all right. I always say, you know, if it's a bit chilly, put a jumper on. And I did get that jumper, didn't I, last year? You know, the big teddy thing?
Yeah.
Oh, it's massive. We could all go camping in it, but it's brilliant for working in it. And it's even got a pouch on the front. I look like a kangaroo. A blue kangaroo. But you can always put something on. But if it's hot, you can't. You're uncomfortable. Can't take your skin off. And probably worse for me, because I was in the burns unit for 2 months as a child. So I only have to think about the sun, and that's it. Skin just starts splitting. So I can well do without it, to be honest. So the colder, the better. Lola's a bit concerned about the rain, though, isn't she?
She's not impressed.
No, she doesn't mind getting filthy, but she does object to it raining. And she stands at the door, like backing off, like, it's raining, I'll go later. Like midnight. Oh, poor Lola. Jamie says, by the way, naturally love the show. Looking forward to the imminent next one. Oh, Jamie, no. Must never say that, because the next show is always when you least expect it. And I'm pretty confident, well, I'm sure young Johnny would be thinking like this, if there was a show last Tuesday, the chances of one next Tuesday are slim to non-existent. And that's what keeps us going. So never get used to the fact it's next Tuesday. Because we played with your mind last week and it was Monday, if you remember. That's because there was a live show on the Tuesday. Glad you enjoyed it, Kim. You're very welcome. Oh, 19 indoors, no central heating. No, we never bother with the central heating. Definitely not. In fact, you get those things on your memories. You'll love this one. It was a memory, but I think it was from like last November. So it wasn't a year ago. It must have been memorialised in something else. And it was out of the window. And what was outside? Cadent gas. Oh, remember when they dug the pavements up? They dug absolutely everything up, if you recall. I can't believe it's that long ago. That we had to have him in the house, didn't we? And he had to wear a mask. And if you remember, the one smoking the Woodbine said he couldn't possibly put a mask on. He wouldn't be able to breathe. Yeah, bad words are said about that one as well. Oh, Tracy had a maximum of 22, but after Wednesday it's going to be 27. Well, clearly we've sent it your way, Tracy, but I reckon you can handle it better than we can. So long may you have it, not us. Oh, Johnny doesn't know about Slacker Brian either. Slacker Brian arrived a few weeks ago, didn't he, with one of your demos?
It was one of my demos where I had a team of trainers who were creating videos. And Slacker Brian, I think, had created one video, and the rest of the team had created 4 or 5. Now, I didn't say it was Slacker Brian, but Kim looked at the screen and said, "Oh, Brian's a slacker," and it kind of stuck.
It stuck.
Yeah.
It definitely stuck. So last week, I didn't even know I'd done that, When I was demonstrating the black hole last week, I was looking for names that started with A, B, C, D, and E, so I just put Brian. And then when I was discussing it with you, he said, "Oh, I see you've got Slacker Brian in there." So he's now he's stuck in our demo now. Slacker Brian's there forever. We're making sure that he's going to be working. Oh, Tracy's turned into a TV star. Oh, can't wait for that. Come out in January sometime. We'll have a watch. Do you remember when we did that? What do you used to call it?
Watch party.
A watch party, yeah. We had a watch party on Twitter. And all went well until people decided that I should watch Lesbian Vampire Killers. And I've been running for the hills ever since. I did manage the first 10 minutes and I was speechless at how bad it was. Has anybody actually ever made it to the end of that film that can let me know what happens? Because I'm not that bothered to watch it to find out. That was when Apple gave it away for free. It was one of their Christmas gifts, that was. And I must admit, it was bad. It was really bad. Oh, Tracy, never mind if you remember. We have it all written down, don't we, like Renee's bed? We're still waiting for the arrival and unboxing and video of Renee's bed.
It's on Slack.
Oh, excellent. Right. I'll be able to go and find it then. Oh, Jammy's favourite line from last week. Ellen's black hole, no funny comments. Was it Ellen or Ellen? It was Ellie. Ellie, yes. It was the name of your dog. Ellie. That was me. You'll need to Well, I've got a few months, haven't I, Tracy? I know the odd word, I think. Actually, I've learned quite a few words with the... what's his name? Is it Hormozy? No. The fella. The kissing gate. I learned quite a few words. Most of them unrepeatable.
Russell Brand.
Oh, good grief. No, not that wasn't Kissingate. That was way worse than that. The Spanish fella.
Oh, the FA president.
Rubiales,
yeah.
That was his name. I don't know where I got the other names from. Never mind. Yeah, he did an interview, and while his English wasn't at all bad, I think he was uttering some Spanish words of some description. So I kind of got the gist of them. But yes, it could be quite a rush for that. Maybe I can translate it. I can transcribe it and then translate it. That'll work. It was Ellie. It definitely was. Right. Okay then. So if we have nothing else, I will head off. Do we have anything else? I don't think we do have anything else, do we? No. Right, let me push buttons here and things will disappear. None of the team will appear. But you're crossing your fingers, the product will actually be visible. Well, good luck with it. Good luck with it. I hope it does. So I will say good night from me.
And good night from me.
And we will both see you next time. Stay safe, guys.